There are two ways to change scenes in Godot: getTree.changeScene2 and getTree.changeScene. The difference between them is changeScene takes a loaded scene, while changeScene takes a string path and loads it in the background. Functionally, they do the same thing, but I prefer changeScene because it looks cleaner. These functions work fine on their own, but if you actually want to make a game, you're going to want scene transitions, like fade in and out. If you want to have these transitions in your game, stick around, because surprisingly, that's what I'll be teaching you in this tutorial. Hi, I'm Israel Reese, and you're watching Moving Entertainment. So, with respect to mine and your time, I already implemented the scene transitions in the Godot game engine, and I'll just be running through how I did that. Now, as an example, I'm using my game, My Demon. I made this for the Game Maker's Toolkit Game Jam, and I didn't get to make scene transitions, so all the scene changes are very choppy. So what I'm doing is I'm archiving my game. If you want to play the original, you can go on my itch page and download the archive and build it yourself and then run it. But so next time, if you do end up playing this, you'll be seeing the scene transitions. So how we do this effect is if you go to Project Settings, you'll see Auto Loads. And I already added it. How you do that is you click Path and you select the scene you want to use, and then you click Add. And so the name to access it is Scene Changer. So I'll show you how I do that. So basically, if we click Run, we can see if you click Remote, it'll show what the scene tree looks like while the game's running. So if we look in Local, you can see Start Screen, but if you go to Remote, you can see all the auto load scenes. You can see UI events and Scene Changer. So Scene Changer, if we change the scene, Scene Changer will always be there. And this start screen is the one that will be changing. Everything else will stay the same. So you could also do this for music if you don't want music to change during scene transitions. So there's that. What I did is I clicked this button to make a new scene. I saved it in Source UI and named it Scene Changer. And then I got a canvas layer, a control, and color rect. And a color rect is just a rectangle with color on it. An important thing to note is both control, all control nodes, if you look over here in mouse, if what they do is mouse filter, imagine events as raindrops or grains of sand, and then control nodes as filters. And so if I click on top of here, and this is set to stop, it will stop all mouse clicks, grains of sand, from passing through to other nodes. So make sure to set this to ignore so UI events can pass through. Otherwise, you're going to have a bad time. And next, I added an animation player. To add animations, you click New, and then you can name, rename, all that. And the fade in, or actually it's just called fade, because what we're doing is we're fading in, and you can see key properties in the inspector right here. I keyed it to fade in to black, and then I have a function that's being called. If you click Add New Track, you can call functions. Then you click the node you want to call the function on, and then it will, so insert key, and then you can see a list of script methods that are on that node. And so I made a function called New Scene, and that switches the scene, and then it fades back to clear. So if we look in the script, you can see onReadyVar, and then I set animation n to the path of the node that I'm going to be using. Then var scene, and I use some hints with string so it knows what variable type it is. Then change scene is the one I call from every other scene, and I don't have this underscore so that I can remember that it's going to be called from other scripts, whereas new scene is a private method that this scene will be using locally. No other script outside of this one will be using it. So then we make some, in change scene, we have some properties, input properties. Here's new scene and then anim. So when I call this function in, say, start screen, I'm passing the path to the file I want, the scene I want to change to, and then the name of the animation. So I set scene, this variable, to new scene, and then animation.play to the new animation. And then it will play, it will call this new scene, which get tree, change scene, and I already said in the intro that change scene, hit control click, and it will bring you to the documentation change scene. It will load the scene into a packed scene for you, whereas change scene 2, you have to pass in a loaded scene. This basically looks nicer, and that's why I use it, but they basically do the exact same thing. I'm sure there's a reason for you to use one over the other, but I'm not really sure, and that's outside the scope of this tutorial. So that's basically how you do it. If you go to start screen, you can type scene changer, and this accesses the node. It knows that this node will be in the scene always, so you can just call its name. You can also do that for, what did I have it, UI events, and you can call functions on that node. So let's see it in action. So when we click play, oh, wrong one. Okay, play. Then we go to remote so we can actually see the scene change when it happens. So I can just right click always on top. That's helpful. So remote, then start screen, and you can see the scene changer node right here. So when we click start, it will fade out, change the scene, and fade back. So start, fade out, then over here you can see it changed right there. Thank you for watching this tutorial. I know it's really simple, but hopefully you got some value out of it and you learned how to make transitions. That's kind of the point of the video. If you didn't get that away from the video, I pretty much failed. You can dislike the video and leave a hateful comment, because that would be pretty horrible if you didn't learn how to make scene transitions. But if you did, leave a like, and more importantly, leave a comment. I would really appreciate that, and get your feedback on the game I made.
Golly. Now the mayor's dead, so Brody's in charge. He knows the real killer is still at large. So he and the Dreyfus make a decision. They're going on a mission. They're gonna go fishing for Jaws.